Picture this, a time when life and death were decided by the edge of a blade and the speed of a horse. A time when 3 Native American tribes struck terror into the hearts of even the most powerful empires. The Comanche, the Iroquois, the Apache, these weren't just tribes, they were living nightmares. They didn't just fight to defend their homes, they waged wars that left entire nations trembling. They weren't bound by rules, they weren't looking for peace. They were hunting for domination and the world. The world had no idea what was coming. What you're about to discover will challenge everything you thought you knew about Native American history. Are you ready to face the horrors these warriors unleashed? Because the truth is darker than you can imagine. Let's start with the Comanche, a tribe that was once a dominant force across the southern plains. Known as the Lords of the Plains, the Comanche were exceptional horse riders, and their expertise in horsemanship made them unmatched in battle. Originally, they lived in the Rocky Mountains, but they migrated south and adopted the use of horses, which transformed their society. By the mid-18th century, the Comanche had perfected the art of mounted warfare, using fast horses to hunt buffalo and conduct lightning-fast raids against other tribes and settlers. They became renowned for their fearsome fighting skills and guerrilla tactics. The Comanche were feared not just for their skill, but for their terrifying tactics. They would often strike at night, raiding enemy camps when they least expected it. Their lightning-fast attacks on horseback made them difficult to pin down. The Comanche used their horses for everything: hunting, war, and even as a means of escape. Their raids were brutal and efficient. They were known to use terror as a weapon, and stories of their cruelty toward captured enemies were legendary. The Comanche practiced a variety of torturous methods, including scalp-taking and burning victims alive, as a way to intimidate their foes and show their dominance. Now let's move eastward to the Iroquois Confederacy, one of the most powerful and influential groups of Native Americans. The Iroquois Confederacy, also known as the Haudenosaunee or People of the Longhouse, was a union of several tribes, including the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, Seneca, and Tuscarora. The Iroquois were exceptional strategists, and their influence spread over a vast region in the northeastern United States and parts of Canada. They were not just warriors, but also diplomats, forming alliances with other tribes and even the European settlers to protect their land and people. Despite their diplomatic efforts, the Iroquois were also fierce warriors. Their war rituals were brutal, and their method of warfare included terrifying practices like running the gauntlet. Captured enemies were forced to run between 2 lines of warriors who would strike them with weapons. Those who survived the gauntlet faced further torture or execution. The Iroquois' understanding of psychological warfare made them both respected and feared, as their reputation for cruelty in battle often preceded them. Finally, we come to the Apache. Living in the deserts of the Southwest, the Apache were known for their resilience and guerrilla warfare tactics. Led by legendary figures like Geronimo and Cochise, the Apache were fierce warriors who waged an unrelenting fight against settlers, the Mexican army, and eventually the United States military. The Apache were masters of survival in the harsh desert and used the land's rugged terrain to their advantage. Their hit-and-run tactics, combined with their knowledge of the land, made them a terrifying force. The Apache didn't just fight to defend their homes, they fought to survive. Their warfare was based on speed, stealth, and the ability to outsmart and outmaneuver their enemies. They would ambush larger forces, using the desert's vastness to hide their movements. The Apache also relied heavily on raids for resources, including food, weapons, and horses, and they were relentless. Even after being pushed into reservations, many Apache continued to resist, leading to some of the most famous and prolonged resistance movements in American history. As we wrap up the incredible, and at times horrifying, history of the Comanche, Iroquois, and Apache, one thing stands clear: these tribes weren't just fighting for land, they were fighting for their very survival. But here's the twist: while history may have tried to bury these stories, they're not done yet. The legacies of these warriors live on, hidden in plain sight, in the very land they fought to protect. So next time you walk through the wilderness or even across a city, think how much of their spirit still exists around us. And what would happen if these warriors rose again in the world we live in today? One thing is certain: these tribes' stories are far from over.